As you guys know from probably the news and, the title of this video, the United States government has officially shut down. Congress wasn't able to pass a resolution in order to continue funding the government, marking this as the first time such an event has happened when one party has controlled both houses of Congress and the presidency. So in this video we're going to talk about why this happened, who's responsible, and what happens next. So let's start with what's supposed to happen and how it just, didn't. One of the things that Congress is responsible for is passing an annual discretionary budget. It's a pretty intense process that I describe in a separate video that you can go to right here. However, I'm just going to warn you guys that it was probably the first video I ever made for this channel, and it shows. But TTDW, it's a process that involves a lot of debate, negotiation, and votes. So it's something that a lot of political posturing can get introduced into. This is something that both Democrats and Republicans have been doing in earnest, with all of their debating points orbiting around the same core issue that is immigration. On the right, President Trump and a lot of Republicans in Congress weren't really interested in pursuing a long-term funding package if it didn't include funds for President Trump's proposed border wall. The thing that Mexico was supposed to pay for, but I guess, we're doing it now. We're also adamant on additional spending in order to improve military readiness and to provide additional resources for the Border Patrol. Democrats wanted legal protection for dreamers, or individuals who came into the United States illegally as children, but have literally known no other country aside from this. These are individuals who had federal protection, or at least, deferred action status by the federal government under the Obama administration. They also wanted to see action for the hundreds of thousands of other individuals who previously had protected status, but whose status was revoked by the Trump administration, as well as wanted to see additional funding towards Puerto Rico in order to help them deal with the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. The Dreamer bid is actually one of the few things that both Democrats and Republicans have vocalized their agreement on, but Republicans kind of objected to the idea of it being used as a bargaining chip during the budget proceedings. But it seems like we might have had a potential bipartisan solution with a proposal made by Senators Lindsey Graham and Dick Durbin. However, when they proposed the idea to the president initially, or at least, the skeleton of it, that's when President Trump let loose with his shithole comments. Despite a last-minute attempt from President Trump and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to be able to hammer out a deal over cheeseburgers, negotiations broke down, and as of 1:30 last night, the Senate retired, having resigned themselves to a government shutdown. As I mentioned earlier, this is the first time that the government is shut down with one party controlling both houses of Congress and the presidency. One would think that it would be, a little easier for things to get done with one party control. However, as I mentioned in a previous video, link over here, what really matters here isn't partisanship as much as ideology, and the ideological fissures in the Republican camp have been just becoming more and more visible since, last May. So who's responsible for this state of affairs? Many Republicans are claiming that it's the Democrats' fault, with Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders saying that they're acting as, quote, obstructionist losers. Many on the right are angry that the government has shut down and that the Democrats are holding out for dreamers, individuals who are here in the United States illegally and seemingly prioritizing them over U.S. citizens. They also see it as the Democrats playing a game, since the whole dreamer thing doesn't necessarily have to be attached to the funding bill. But many Democrats are arguing that it's actually the Republicans' fault. See, they claim that the onus of operation falls upon the majority party, or at least the party that has control over both houses of Congress and the presidency. And many individuals are kind of rehashing a tweet that President Trump made in 2013 where he was saying that the buck stops with the president when it comes to a government shutdown, but now he's the president, so, ipso facto. But candidly, if we wanted to look at this as an objective thing, it's both of their faults. Both of them are to blame here. Republicans aren't able to muster the solidarity in order to address an issue that they've promised to address. Frankly, they can't seem to keep their house in order. Actually, technically, to be fair, the House of Representatives did actually pass a continuing resolution in order to continue to fund the government for another 3 weeks, so they technically kept their house in order, just not the Senate. Democrats in the Senate are also responsible, however, by insisting that the Dreamer thing has to be dealt with here and now, and the fact of the matter is that their protective status doesn't expire until March. It is something that doesn't necessarily have to be attached to a spending bill. And their claim that the blame falls squarely on the majority is a bit dubious here, when said majority isn't enough to be able to potentially squash a filibuster, right? You need 60 votes to be able to do that, and the Democrats were actively engaging in a filibuster, so, that's like blaming them for not being able to do their jobs while also actively preventing them from doing their jobs. But to be fair, it probably would have been dealt with if the Republicans were able to exert a stronger amount of control over their members, and if President Trump was able to consistently detail the sorts of concessions that he wanted to see, which members on both angles of this issue have said, effectively that no, he isn't being consistent with what he's asking for. As can be expected, both parties are actively trying to make it look like the other one is responsible. One of the first things the Republicans did was start the hashtag Schumer shutdown, which the Democrats then responded with their own thing, which was hashtag Trump shutdown. The rest of us are absolutely astounded that they're somehow waging a framing war on a platform that only 25% of the American adult population actually uses. But looking at which of the two is winning, Trump shutdown absolutely is, garnering hundreds of thousands of more usages than Schumer shutdown. And this arguably reflects the polling data as well, with an ABC Washington Post poll showing that the vast preponderance of individuals place the blame squarely in the Republican camp. However, a significant plurality, roughly 20%, volunteered the answer that both parties are to blame, which is much higher than it was in 2013, where most people just said it was solely on the Republicans. As to the fallout of all of this, there are are some things that we do definitively know and other things that are purely speculative. During the shutdown, hundreds of thousands of quote-unquote non-essential government employees are furloughed, meaning that they are effectively sent home and told not to come into work. These individuals will generally get back pay for the time that they missed, although that is not a guarantee. That is contingent upon the will of Congress and the President. Essential personnel are continuing to come into work, and they will generally continue to receive pay, at least until the contingency cash that the government has stashed away runs out. For instance, the military says that all active duty members will continue to get paid unless the government shutdown extends into February 1st. At which point their pay is not necessarily guaranteed. However, you can pretty much be sure that both Congress and the President will be, working actively to make sure that they are being paid during the shutdown. But the effects of the furlough are not felt universally across government departments. Veterans Affairs only will have 4% of its employees furloughed, while the EPA, on the other hand, the Environmental Protection Agency, will have 95% of its employees furloughed. There's also some conflicting information as to what exactly is going to stay open. The administration promises that the national parks will remain open because that was a huge point of contention during the 2013 shutdown. However, other things that are on federal funding may not remain open. For instance, the Lyndon B. Johnson Presidential Library has indicated that they will be shutting down during the federal shutdown. But when discussing all this, it's also really important to mention that this is only for discretionary income. There's actually a huge chunk of the federal budget that's allocated through other laws and aren't necessarily up for annual debate. Their funding is either guaranteed, allocated, or mandated through other laws that are previously passed. So things like Social Security and the post office will continue to remain open, so you'll continue to get your Social Security checks and you'll continue to get your mail. Other things, though, will be up in the air as it depends on what the agency responsible for that administration or for that responsibility has, in plan. The fact that this is happening this year is encouraging speculation as to whether or not this is going to either harm or hurt the Republicans and the Democrats in the upcoming midterm elections. There's just too many balls up in the air. We are just way too early in this situation to be able to see how the battle for public opinion is going to play out. Plus, there didn't actually seem to be that many electoral ramifications for the 2013 shutdown. Although the vast preponderance of people saw that as being the GOP's responsibility, they then rewarded the Republicans with the majority in the Senate the following year. As of right now, we have no idea how long this is going to last. As of recording and producing this video, the Senate has reconvened in an attempt to be able to hash out a deal. And historically, most of the government shutdowns that have happened have only lasted one day. However, the one in 2013 lasted, just over 2 weeks. So there's a lot of variability that could potentially happen here. I want to see what you guys think about all of this, so please drop your thoughts down in the comment section below. I look forward to answering all of them and answering a few of them in the next comment response video. Sources for everything else will be down in the doobly-doo, as well as links to the Facebook, the Twitter, and the blog. Look forward to seeing you guys out there as well. If this video was helpful, I hope you consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you want to support the channel, you can do so by commenting down below, by sharing this video, and by subscribing to the channel to stay in the loop for more awesome social science content is uploaded. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.